Hello and welcome to Sketchy Games Nintendovember. This is Link on Air.
And this is Musical Monacle.
And we are here to do a retrospective of the NES. If you couldn't tell from this month, we've been doing non-stop reviews on old retro NES titles, ranging from Zelda to Metroid to Kirby, and coming soon, Mario. But before all that, let's reflect on the years of the 80s that we missed. Starting with the NES, and how it saved us all from the downfall of gaming.
That's right, back in the late set time of the, what we would call the arcade era, there were a lot of crappy games coming out on home console, which people were just getting sick and tired of, such as E.T., and just a slew of games that weren't even really entertaining.
Yeah, we all know who that E.T. game turned out.
Game. But anyways, there was a savior for the gaming industry in America, and that part of that was...
It was Sega, right?
Yeah, not yet. But part of that was the Nintendo Entertainment System. When it came to America, it disguised itself as a toy so that those that were sick of games would see something else in it. They came out with such devices as Rob, that robot that would actually physically pick up things outside and you controlled it. And they had the power gun and the power glove, and they even had the arcade pad. The NES came out with a lot of toys so that gamers would become interested in it. And the Nintendo company was itself a toy company before it was a video gaming company, but Nintendo's ever since been trying to innovate the gaming industry. One of the major icons of Nintendo has been Mario, and he's done just that, innovated gaming.
He sure does like stomping on people's dreams, particularly the Goombas and Turtles.
Well, yes.
They will never get to live out their dream of walking back and forth between pipes.
They didn't never mean to hurt
cruel.
anybody. It's okay, man. But anyways, we're going to pretend like we're on Mario's side here on this, because let's face it, it's just really fun to go run out on the streets and jump on turtles and stuff.
How do we know we're not kidnapping the princess from Bowser?
Yeah, he rightfully held her against her will, you know? Anyways, Mario is just the first of many things. Platforming was revolutionized by Mario, and
it was the first in the gaming industry to have a non-black background, as far as I know.
Super Mario. But anyways, for a further discussion, we're tuned into the next episode. Where I'll be discussing Mario, the whole every Mario game on
everything from the arcade through the NES.
Yep.
Hells yeah.
But anyways, speaking of major Nintendo icons, we have a few other favorites, right?
The Legend of Zelda.
Yes, The Legend of Zelda,
where you learn the subtle art of waving a sword around going, yeah. Hiya! It was the very first Nintendo game to revolutionize exploration.
Yes, it was open world. The Legend of Zelda was open world, and there was really no preface. You weren't like, where do I go? Right, left? You didn't know where to go. You just
go
explored.
Wherever you like, but if you end up in the 8th dungeon, good luck to you.
It gave a lot of power to the player.
I made it to the 3rd level. That's where I quit, because the Dark Nuts would always get my health down before I could make it to the boss, obviously.
Speaking of
unfortunately
difficult Dark Nuts, let's talk about Legend of Zelda 2, Link's Adventure.
I never even made it past the first dungeon because of the Dark Nuts in that game. No matter what you did, you attack up, they raise their shield, then block. You try to strategize, but you're better off just jumping and slashing until you have a shot at actually hurting them, assuming you don't die first.
Link's Adventure was significantly harder, but it was just trying something new. It was trying kind of a Castlevania-esque RPG-ish style.
And in doing so, it removed most of Link's maneuverability.
We owe some of the things that Link's Adventure brought out to the franchise, or the franchise owes some things to that game. But the game itself
like what?
Was...
Because I never really got that far.
It was like the first one that was trying to see Link in a new dimension, even if that dimension might have resulted in the whole "excuse me, princess" ordeal.
Well, excuse me, Musical Monacle.
And this was the first one where you would explore towns of people who sometimes had helpful information and missions for you.
And that one lady that tells you to go into her house to heal you.
Yes. Yes.
I'm curious as to what exactly went down in there.
Ding, 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 ding. Well, another one of our... Well,
on to Metroid.
Yes, another one of our favorite titles, Metroid.
Never even made it past the first few areas. I suck.
Metroid games are hard.
They are hard as balls.
They're
morph balls.
They're hella cool. They're really cool though. The space agedness was really cool. The music was awesome and creepy.
It set the groundwork for the Metroidvania style, which didn't really come fully established until both Super Metroid and Symphony of the Night, but we're not going to get into that here. This is NES month.
But it did a lot of really cool, innovative things. The Metroid game,
open world platforming.
Right.
With lots of death. Mostly your death.
And, instead of going the traditional right at the beginning of the game, you actually are...
to go left.
Right. Left, I mean. Right.
Morph balls.
Morph balls are cool. Those are new. That's a new concept. And that was really cool to be able to drop the bombs.
It's a shame you couldn't crouch down to shoot enemies, because most of them were below your waist.
Well, they hadn't developed those walls that you can hide behind in order to shoot all those enemies.
They could have made the enemies taller. Would that have killed them? I don't think so. But actually, taller enemies might have killed you. Anyway, let's talk about Kirby's Adventure. Now that game cheered me up immensely this month, going from the extreme difficulty of most older NES titles to the cheerful and charming Kirby's Adventure, another platformer game where you suck a lot. I mean that in a good way. You suck up the bad guys and steal their powers.
Yep.
Although the game can be pathetically easy, like in the Kirby review that Matonk did. The first boss can be wrecked in seconds. Just get a sword and...
But it is a very user-friendly, rewarding experience. I mean, power-ups, you gain power-ups from your enemies, and that's really cool. It's a cool concept.
Strangely, my little cousin Juan said that game was too hard and boring for him. Man, it's a good thing I didn't make him play the original Zelda. I hate to see what he thought of that game.
Yeah, old games is hard.
And how about those Pokemon, huh? I know they weren't on the NES, but it would be a shame to leave them out of a Nintendo month. Well, actually, it was going to be on the NES at one point. Pokemon Gold. There's a reason it didn't show up. Mostly the soundtrack. Yeah. But let's talk about Red, Blue, and Yellow. The American version of those is based on the Japanese version Blue, which removed a lot of the bugs that were found in Pokemon Red and Green.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also back before, well, they got out of hand with making Pokemon black and white. They went way too overboard there.
My brain can only fit 150 Pokemon in it at a time, so...
I could deal with Generation 2.
Yeah, that was fun.
Like I said, we're not getting into the next systems yet, but...
Pokemon was cool.
Well, in celebration of all these NES titles, we thought we'd go and see Wreck-It Ralph.
Yep.
Third time I've seen it, first time he's seen it, and it is amazing.
Despite the expectation, Wreck-It Ralph was, well, despite the expectation for movies that are based on games, Wreck-It Ralph was actually really cool. It was one of the best game-based movies.
I was half expecting it to be just a string of references held together with spit. It wasn't! It had its own original, well, not original story, per se. Oh, it is kinda. It's predictable.
It was a story about breaking the archetypes of your expectations.
And seemed to have an undercurrent of being trapped in your own job.
Well, but it was full of entertainment that I think could have reached all types of audience, from casual gamers to hardcore old style gamers, even hardcore new style gamers. It was just full of references. It was full of A-list stars, and surprisingly it wasn't developed by Pixar, but it was...
Pixar level of perfection.
Yep. It was a really good movie.
And if you haven't seen it, even if you're not a gamer, see it. See it, or so help me, I will come to your house and devour your soul.
Yeah. But it's full of all the... a majority of all the different gaming genres, and some have compared it to, like, the Toy Story of nowadays.
Yeah, I don't think that's a fitting comparison. I guess in the sense that what they do when you're not around, but other than that, not really.
But it kind of plays around with that thought. What do the games do when you're not around, if you've ever thought that? I know I have.
The only way I'd want to see a sequel for this movie is to see it take place in other game worlds.
Yeah, it would be great.
Although the story doesn't really set up for a sequel.
Not the story. I wouldn't want a sequel to this one, I don't think. But it's been a really fun month of Nintendovember.
And it's not over yet. Stay tuned for Thursday when Devin reviews
all of the Mario games up until the end of the NES.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah?
Now piss off!